Welcome. I call to order the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners issues and updates on this March 29, 2022. Administrator Gary Schmidt, what's up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. All commissioners are present today. We'll start with, we're going to skip to the second item, Water Environment Services Board. Chair, would you please convene the board?
I will now recess as a Board of County Commissioners and reconvene as a Water Environment Services Board.
Thank you, Chair Smith. The first item for Water Environment Services Board is a request for consent agenda, approval of a contract with R.L. Reimers Company for the Kellogg Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility Influent Pumps 2 and 4 Replacement Construction Project. Total contract value is $1,466,125, funded through Water Environment Services Capital Improvement Funds. No county general funds are involved. Greg Geist is the Director of Water Environment Services. Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. We recently finished a pretty significant rehabilitation project at our Kellogg facility. There are 4 influent pumps, 2 small pumps and 2 large pumps at that facility. We replaced the small pumps, and now it's time to replace the large ones. I know that you guys are interested in construction costs, so I asked around. Our engineer's estimate for this project in August of 21 was $1.34 million. The base bid came in at $1.29 million, and the range of bids was up from that 1.29 up to 1.51. We did add on a couple things, removing some PCB-laden transformers and bypass pumping, laid on top of that 1.29 million, and so that's where you see the final total of 1.34, or no, sorry, 1.46.
Okay.
So we didn't get lucky. We had good, our staff put together good bid documents, a good material for them.
Sounds like you had an add-on.
And we had an add-on.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, kind of related, but I'm going to take this opportunity. Is there any chance, knowing that some of that I&I increases the need for pump stations or the load on pump stations, but is there any opportunity for that to relieve some of the cost, construction costs, soft cost, hard cost for stormwater facilities that are putting on all these homes and residences and structures? I'm hearing a lot that they're so onerous and expensive that $75,000 to $100,000 in wastewater control for a single-family home is a little bit too high.
Well, that's a different program. I mean, that's our surface water program.
But as it relates to, is there any relief by adding these pump stations?
No.
Is there a possibility we can have a work session on that as the board of WES?
Absolutely. And I mean, ostensibly, those requirements are governed by our rules and regulations, which we've talked about extensively with our advisory committee and the board, and they will be coming to you for approval. So if there's any sense that it's our rules and regulations that are causing this, then that's the opportunity to have that conversation.
Chair, I would suggest, I don't think we've talked about it at great length, and I'm just kind of wondering how strict we are, if there's a way that would result in lowering the cost to some degree. I'm not saying not meet the requirements, but I'm hearing things from the construction world that it's, I agree, heard it yesterday. I think $75,000 to $90,000 for a single-family home for a stormwater facility.
That does seem extraordinary.
It's pretty damn steep.
Right.
Yeah, Gary, I'm going to have County Administrator weigh in on this.
Okay. Sure, we can do a work session if you'd like, Chair.
Now, does this have to come from the solid waste, or not solid waste, but your commission who does regulation? How does this work? Do you take a look at your plans going forward, your rules and regulations? Gary? Or do we just excuse me, have a work session? I don't want to have a work session making assumptions that we don't know anything about. Paul says he's heard one anecdotal story about the increased cost, which is really tremendous. Yes, it is. But I think we maybe need to get that nailed down, what area this involves. It's not all areas in unincorporated where you serve, I'm sure. This may have to do something with the Oak Grove Water Authority change coming forward. No?
No, because we're not Oak Grove. This is Wes. I'm talking about within Wes's jurisdiction as a board.
I understand that, Paul, but also I know that the Water Authority, we're working together with them on trying to alleviate a lot of this storm runoff situation. and I toured a resident's house, and Wes says, well, that's not our jurisdiction. And the Elk Grove Water Authority says, well, that's not our jurisdiction. And so I didn't know whose jurisdiction it was. So I think jurisdictional considerations need to be brought forth as well. Yeah, Gary.
How about Greg, could you write a memo to the board with these information and questions and send it to all of them, and then after you read that, we can, if you wish, Chair, we can have a further discussion.
We'll have a further discussion on that, yeah, but not during this time because we're reviewing the consent agendas. Thank you for bringing that forward.
So,
Any other questions or comments for the presenter?
Yes, Chair, just on this topic, just briefly, that there's stormwater and there's surface water. So there is this constant issue of jurisdictions say, oh, that's a road issue or that's a county issue, so I agree. But the surface water.
Yeah, of course, when it rains, you're not going to be able to identify really what it is. Rain is rain. Greg, you have a final comment.
just a clarification, just to be clear, the question is, are there opportunities within our proposed rules and regulations that would reduce the cost for residential?
How stringent or, what areas are there? Because I think housing affordability is a huge issue.
Right. If I may just say, I think I would like to, if possible.
Why don't you talk offline about this with the administrator, Paul, and we're going to move on to the next topic. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Chair, if you would now convene as the Development Agency Board, please.
I now recess as the Water and Environment Services and convene as the Development Agency Board for the next item.
Thank you, Chair. Next, there are two items. First, modification to a funding agreement with Clackamas County Fire District Number 1. Dan Johnson is the Director of Transportation and Development, which oversees the Development Agency. You are not making this decision today, Commissioners. You are simply directing staff if you want to pursue this, and we'll come back to you with more. That's the question, so very short, please, Dan. Go ahead.
You say make it short?
Make it short, please.
Okay, well, you have the summary in your packet of the history of this discussion. This was a direct investment program that was supported by the Board of County Commissioners to direct urban renewal funds directly into some of our taxing partners that are out there to support some of their capital needs. We did it with a number of different partners, one of which was Clackamas Fire District. We have a funding agreement with them. It was focused around an administration facility. Those funds have been transferred from the Clackamas Town Center District. They have used about $1.1 million of the $2.5 million that were allocated, consistent with the agreement. Okay, they came to the determination that it really wasn't the right time to facilitate a new administrative facility. They have come back to us and they have asked us to revise that agreement and look to redirect those monies down in the Clackamas industrial area at their training facility. Okay? They have about $1.4 million left in that total amount of money we were going to provide them. This essentially is a discussion with the board about doing an amendment, a major amendment to our industrial area plan, which will come back for future consideration by the Board of County Commissioners. That modification is needed because the plan currently in the industrial area has a dollar limit associated with it, and this would expand that dollar limit to give the agency the ability to fund these improvements to a higher dollar level. I'd be happy to answer any questions, which I'm assuming there might be a couple.
It looks like we have a couple questions. Commissioner Fisher.
I love the memo. Whoever wrote the memo, great job.
There's a couple edits in there.
Very
a couple
informative,
edits. It was
but
great.
I was not confused at all until you came and talked to us.
Oh,
So what
perfect.
I understood from the memo is that 1.1 million was spent consistent with the plan.
Consistent with the funding agreement we gave them and the plan, correct.
Okay,
The Clackamas Town Center plan.
okay. And then what I heard you say is that now is not the time to do what they were going to do. Well, what was the 1.1 million spent on that was consistent with the plan?
Design, assessment, some capital acquisition. I can get that detailed list for you if you'd like.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So I'm just curious what happened with that.
Yep.
And that was before my time on
Yep.
the commission, but I'm interested in that. So I think that's a little more information we could get.
Mr. Savis.
Yeah, well, briefly, two parts here. I'm going to say the reason that we did that was because when urban renewal districts put in place, that the tax base is held in the fire districts and other service districts.
Hey, Paul, when you say that, could you just be
When they
a little more with not prepositions?
When urban renewal is put into place, then again, correct me if I'm wrong, the tax base is frozen.
Right.
And so the assessed value does not rise like it typically would when improvements are made. And the fire districts, for example, and other districts say that impedes or that restricts our revenue flow until that is terminated and that tax levy is assessed on the full face value. So they've always made, and I think a valid argument, that they suffer some consequences when they're asked to serve and they don't have the resources. So this agreement was a make good effort for the fire districts. That's how this was crafted. So I did read the packet, and it seems like you have a path maybe to use some resources from the industrial area, which is, again, no longer collecting. I support that. And to help make good for the district, which is still the same fire district. So all to say, I'm good with it. And that should help free up some money in the town center. And I'd love to know and have a conversation a different day about how that's going to be invested.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Commissioner Scholl, did you have your card?
Well, my question had to do with the 1.1 million that's already been expended. And Commissioner Fisher asked that question, and
We can get that list.
yeah,
for you.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, good. And so we will bring this back when, Gary, if the board agrees?
How much time, Dan, for you and your team to do the research and analysis?
I mean, I'm not in a hurry. Is this time sensitive?
I wouldn't say it's super time
So
sensitive.
do we bring it back at a policy session?
So I can get you the 1.1 information relatively easily. I think I can probably email that out to you by the end of this week or next and get that. And then I think if we bring it back to issues, just to get concurrence from the board to move forward on it.
If you want to point a decision, it comes before a policy session.
Policy session.
We could do I'd be glad to do a policy session.
Points of decision where a vote is taken should be at a policy
Correct.
decision.
And the direction that you're giving us is the amendment. So
Right.
to just advance the amendment. Because there will be 2 public hearings. There will be, we'll be bringing it back before issues to request the board's authorization to bring it back for a public hearing at that point in time.
You bring it back for a policy session.
Correct.
You said issues.
After the policy session, we would still come back in front of you again to make sure we're consistent with that.
Commissioner Fisher, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really support having decision points be made at policy sessions, even if they're really quick. I think that's okay. We can always have time back, but scheduling it that way so we can have the discussion is good. So along with what Commissioner Scholl is asking and I'm asking, it just would help, I think this board feel better to know that the 1.1 million that was utilized had some good investment. Just like, how did that help? Whatever they were wanting to do move forward. And it's good for us to understand.
I think we can bring that up at the policy session as well.
Yeah.
If the commission wants to discuss that 1.1.
We'd be glad to have the discussion.
Okay. Any other comments for the presenter?
So bring everything back to a policy session. Don't advance the amendment.
Yep.
All the data back. We'll do a full-blown policy session.
Yep.
with the board. Okay, thank you. All right, you're still on the Development Agency. There are requests for consent agenda. First, execution of a disposition agreement between the Development Agency and SJRF regarding a remnant piece of property on the northwest corner of Southeast 82nd Avenue and Audie Street intersection. Upon closing, the agency will receive $138,000. No county general funds are involved. Go ahead.
Essentially, the board has assessed we've had a discussion with the board about this piece of property previously. Essentially, this is the directing of the disposition of a remnant property. That was a small sliver of property that was associated with the development of our Audie Road extension to the west. The board directed us to negotiate in good faith with the adjoining property owner. We got an appraisal. They made a full price accepted the full price offer, or made an offer of the full appraised value. We're looking forward to advance this.
That's cool. Do we know what this property is going to be used for?
I would assume that it will be used to expand their circulation for their existing site and/or parking to limit impacts on the adjacent public
I was
roadways.
just
Yep.
curious. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for the presenter on this item? What's next, Gary?
Item 2, approval of a First Amendment to a post-closing and development agreement between the Development Agency and Shanti Investments regarding the property located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Southeast 92nd Avenue and Johnson Creek Boulevard. The agreement extends the required date for substantial completion of the development until November 22, 2023. The $25,000 security deposit provided by the developer will continue to be held in escrow. No county general funds are involved.
This is a development agreement we have had in place for some time now. Essentially, it is for a hotel motel facility to be developed on that northwest corner of Johnson Creek and 92nd Avenue. As you can imagine, COVID has had some impact on the financing and performance associated with this project. They are simply looking for an extension to that deliverable.
Any questions or comments for the presenter on this one? Mark?
This came up last year, I think. The same person for a one-year extension?
It was a similar one.
Similar one?
Similar
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good, thank you.
Seeing no other comments, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan. So both the Development Agency and Water Environment Services consent agenda will be on this Thursday's business meeting. Chair, if you now reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
I will now recess as a Development Agency Board and reconvene as the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners. What's that next,
Thank you,
Gary?
Chair. Next, we'll do regular consent agenda items as quickly as possible. Staff, first Health, Housing, and Human Services. Come on down. 1, approval of an amendment to a sub-recipient grant agreement with CODA, Inc. for Housing Assistance Program Services. The amendment extends the term of the agreement. Maximum compensation of $706,639.03 is unchanged by this amendment. The agreement is funded by federal and state funds provided by the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
We have a strange noise.
Yeah, it's the sound system. Staff's working on it.
Do you want me to take a timeout? Okay, we're going to pause just a minute for technical issues, so everybody just stand down for a moment. We are now back from recess. We had to swipe out a microphone, and a funny noise was being emitted. So, now, we're back up. Gary.
Yes, so these are requests for consent agenda. First, Health, Housing, Human Services. 1, approval of an amendment to a sub-recipient grant agreement with CODA, Inc. for Housing Assistance Program Services. The amendment extends the term of the agreement. Maximum compensation of $706,639.03 is unchanged by this amendment. The agreement is funded by federal and state funds provided by the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook's the Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, Rod.
Yes, this sub-recipient grant provides housing assistance and services for Clackamas County residents in alcohol and drug recovery to assist them in becoming self-sufficient and obtaining permanent housing placements. Participants need to be fully engaged in alcohol and drug treatment in order to access housing services. Behavioral Health has engaged CODA to provide these services to Clackamas County residents since 2012, so this would be a continuance of that program.
Any questions or comments for the presenter, Commissioner Fisher, and then Commissioner Scholl?
Where are
As well.
these
Sure.
housing services provided? Is this like through our central city? I mean, where's the,
CODA is an organization that actually provides the day-to-day services. The locations, I'd have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure where their location is.
okay, but this is for the housing support for these individuals.
Yes.
I'm just curious where the housing is, if it's a facility or if it's scatter site.
I'll find that out.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Scholl?
Yes, this grant, in what amount, takes it to a total of $706,000, and for what period of time is this grant going to support the role of CODA?
This would terminate April 30th, 2022. So this isn't a change in the value. This is a change in the allotted time
Okay.
that we have to do the services.
How many years is this total agreement?
Effective April 2020, it's basically just going to extend it to April 30, 2022.
When did it start?
Yes.
When
It
did it start?
well, initially, I don't have that date. it would end April 1st, 2022, so my assumption is that it went up to April, May, or
Is it 1 year or a 2-year
March.
contract?
March, thank you.
Is it one year or a 2-year, Rod?
It's a couple of months that this
Just
is going to
months.
extend it, yes.
So that answers Commissioner Schull's question, $700,000 over a few months.
No, there's no change in the dollar amount. This is about changing the period that we're going to allow them to operate.
Right, but what, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm asking,
so-
what is the life of the contract? $700,000 is for how much time? 1 year, 2 years, 6 months? If you don't know, you can get.
I don't know.
Yeah, just
Okay.
get back to us
Yeah.
and send an email. That would be sufficient for
That's
that information.
Okay.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Schrader, you're up.
Yeah, no, you don't have to answer this right now.
Would you talk into your microphone, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
let me grab it.
Yeah.
So when we enter into these kinds of contracts, because this is pretty important group to serve, we know that. How do we measure success with this? Does CODA have a set of metrics that they present to us as a county or as
Yeah, I
the
can.
contract person? It's a contract question, I guess I
Yeah.
have. It's how do you know?
So I will, with the rest of these
Yeah.
answers, I would give you that as well, so you
Okay,
can have
thank you.
specificity. I could tell you, though, generically speaking, when we have a contract with a nonprofit, this is a treatment program, so we're probably measuring their ability to not relapse in terms
Okay,
of
that's
the use
what
of the
I'm trying-
drug. But I'll get you those
Yeah, I
specifics
just-
on this particular one.
As we move forward with a lot of these contracts, I'd be curious to at least get a sense of, because they're nonprofits, so we're managing contracts, we're not directly delivering the service, but what
Yeah,
are the metrics that we're meeting?
This one uses in order to be able to go into this type of housing, the patient would have to agree to staying sober or working the treatment plan.
Okay.
So my assumption would be that for them to complete the program, that they've not reused or not relapsed on their treatment program. And to be able to stay in this unit, that's what they would have to
Okay.
keep working their program.
Thanks.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah,
Are you finished, Commissioner Schrader?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah, it states right here under amend section 1 of the agreement, Pursuant to the terms of this agreement shall be effective July 1, 2019, and shall expire on March 31st, 2022.
Thank you.
So that's the term, and it's being extended for a month.
Yes,
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, good.
that's sufficient. Okay.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I'll be really quick. So I think all these questions stem around, we're in a ever-moving system of substance use. We've got Measure 110, we've got these pots of dollars that are supposed to be coming through the Oregon Health Authority. I'm just checking out, so nice to have the internet right here, but just CODA, just what it does, what its purpose is, what its mission is, what its board of directors is, and just as one of the providers in this system that we don't understand because it's changing, it's in flux. I think for this board in the future, maybe not right now, but really getting a sense of where we are with the changes that are happening will be good, because I don't know that everything is playing out the way that we really want it to at the local level. We may have an advocacy point, especially with the opioid dollars, with the settlement coming in as well. How is that going to be distributed, and how are we executing? Because this is a major priority.
Okay.
Challenge.
Thank you. Rod, do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. What's up next?
Are we okay moving forward on this, Commissioners, or do you want to pull it?
No.
No, before.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement from the State of Oregon Housing and Community Services Department to administer low-income housing, water assistance, and winter shelter investment out of the COLD programs. The amendment updates the definitions within the master agreement and one of the program elements. It does not change the value. Funding is through the State of Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, these funds will allow social services to enter into agreements with home water and wastewater providers to assist eligible low-income households with water and wastewater bills, especially households with the lowest incomes and highest water burden in relation to income.
Any questions or comments for the presenter? Commissioner Fisher, is your card up?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. Hearing no objections, thank you.
Item 3, approval of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement from the State of Oregon Housing and Community Services Department to administer Oregon Eviction Diversion and Prevention Program and COVID Energy Assistance Program. The amendment updates definition, scope, and program elements. There is no dollar change. Funding is through the State of Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, these funds provide eviction prevention and housing stability services to eligible tenants at risk of homelessness or facing eviction from Oregon Health Community Services for the provision of eviction diversion and prevention services.
Okay, any questions or comments for the presenter?
Well, yeah, just in general, I just kind of wonder if how these eviction diversion, if there's any impacts to the landlord and how those are mitigated. I do know there's changes about, but there seems to be more and more concern and focus on that. So just respond to me at a later if there's anything that changes of substance with regard to how those fees are paid, those rents are paid.
Okay.
I don't know if we have any say in it but if there's a change in the language only here, then I'm just kind of concerned about that.
Okay. Any objections to moving forward? Seeing none.
Item 4, approval of a contract amendment with Durgash LLC for on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing participants. The amendment adds $248,000 for a new maximum contract value of $830,400, funded with the Federal Emergency Management Agency and Emergency Shelter Grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, there are approximately 73 households still housed in hotels. To avoid transitioning people back into the unhoused situation while we are seeking permanent housing options, the county will contract with the motel hotel owners, operators, to provide shelter during this time.
Any questions or comments? Any objections to moving forward? Mark?
Rod, on these contracts, how much is the cost per night, per room? In other words, and how much time are we going to get on these increases?
Brenda Derman has joined us. Would you like to take a stab at that?
Good morning, yes. The agreements, I believe, are $100 per night for each motel room.
And what was your other question, Mark?
Well, I can do the math and figure out
Okay.
how many. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
We're
very much.
phasing that program, all he did was a phase, it was so expensive, because that's $3,000, a
Yes.
month,
Yeah.
and rents are cheaper than.
So this is a program, this is a program where we're connecting folks with housing navigators that are funded through the Metro dollars. So at the height, we had 120 households, that's down to about 70, so 50 households have transitioned out. And so with the extension of these contracts, it gives the supportive housing services contractors more time to overcome the barriers that many of these folks have when they're trying to access long-term rent supports.
Are these all low barrier units?
Low barrier meaning ADA or?
No, low barrier meaning those with addictions and so forth?
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Schrader.
So I guess my question is, are we keeping track geographically when you're transitioning folks out into, it's not home ownership, it's
Correct.
basically a living unit somewhere? Okay.
An apartment, yes, a market rate
Okay,
apartment,
market
yes.
apartment. Do we keep track geographically of where these folks are going? Is it always within?
At this point, it's going to be within the urban growth boundary because the program is funded with supportive
Okay.
housing dollars.
Commissioners, I'm going to insert something here. At this rate, we're going to be here all day, and the questions that you're asking is policy decisions, okay? And we're kind of going down that road on a lot of this stuff. We are injecting our own wishes and philosophies on this. Just a minute. And I would suggest if you have a direct question about what's in this contract, and then try not to diverge, because it's really putting our staff in a situation where they can't answer. I mean, I appreciate your questions. Yes, these contracts need to be reviewed. Yes, we need to understand what these contracts do, who they are, and what kind of services they provide. But on these are very, very specific items to our programs. Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
Chair Smith, you summarized really well what I was going to say, because we have a homeless services program. Sheltering is part of that. Motels, hotels are part of that continuum of sheltering. I don't believe that there has been a decision that that's not part of the continuum. And that is a policy session
It
issue.
is a policy session. We have
that-
our wishes and our desires and our
Yes,
philosophies. And if we need policy sessions on this, commissioners, you know what to do and how the request is made.
So
Thank you, Chair Smith.
I'd like to have some time with both of you then, because what I'm looking at more is metrics and like where they're going, how they're going. I mean, you gave me a number already that you had so many families. I'm just curious as to where the capacity is. And that's okay if that's a policy.
That's fine,
I will
because
meet
we
with
have a
them.
lot of department heads sitting in the room to tee up their issues as well. And
So
I
we'll
know
just-
that
we'll
this
just set up
particular
time. Okay.
department and all the services they do is a hot topic. Okay. Any objections to this contract moving forward?
No objections, just want to state, I think this is worth pursuing because it is pretty expensive. It's $200-something thousand a month, and it's 73
Yeah.
households, that's $2.5 million a year,
Yeah,
so.
Paul, you've said that multiple times, and if you want a policy session on it, a work session, Brent, let the administrator know in combination with a lot of the other issues we're bringing forward. Any objections to this moving forward?
No.
Seeing none, go ahead.
Item 5, approval of an amendment to an agency services contract agreement with SRS LLC for on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing participants. Increases the pool of funding available by $218,000 for a revised maximum value of $800,400. Funded with federal emergency management funds and emergency shelter grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
That one's pretty straightforward. I have nothing to add to that one.
Any comments, questions? Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none.
Item 6, approval of a joint reciprocal parking space easement for the Sandy Health Center project with the City of Sandy. The total cost to prepare the easement documentation was $1,500, funded through budgeted Health Centers Division fund balance. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the new Sandy Health Center building will service the city of Sandy and rural Clackamas County. The easement provides a win-win scenario for both the city and the county for usage. This is a major item on the city's processing checklist. The easement must be fully executed prior to the city of Sandy approving the certificate of occupancy for the new Sandy Health Center.
questions or comments for this? Any objections for it moving forward? Hearing none.
Item 7, approval of a change order number 8 for the Sandy Health Center project with Bandelin Construction. This change order adds a 30-day extension with no change in the total contract value. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, due to various issues around the county regarding manufacturing and shipping of construction products, Bandelin is requesting an additional 30-day time extension for their construction contract. Allowing this contract extension has been deemed necessary for the construction item. If change order number 8 is approved by the BCC, the new substantial completion date will be April 27th, 2022, and a final completion date will be May 11th, 2022 for the new Sandy Health Center project.
Wow. Long time coming. Any questions or comments about this? Any objections to moving forward? Hearing none.
Thank you, Rod, very much. Next, Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Item 1, approval of a contract with Keefe Commissary Network for inmate commissary services. Maximum contract value is $300,000, funded by jail's Inmate Welfare Services Fund. No county general funds are involved. Captain Lee Eby is here from the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board. These services will contract within the Clackamas County Jail for adults in custody to provide commissary goods services to our adults in custody, prepaid debit services, and injured kits and supplies for those adults in custody at the Clackamas County Jail.
Any questions or comments on this item? Any objections to it moving forward? Hearing none, thank you.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to the Cooperative Law Enforcement Services Agreement between the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and the United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service for patrol services in the Mount Hood National Forest. This amendment carries forward the unused portion of the 2021 operating plan in the amount of $76,809.30, funded by the United States Department of Agriculture, Forest Service. No county general funds are involved. I'm sorry, Lee, I thought you were presenting on that as well. Who's presenting from the Sheriff's Office? Looks like nobody. This is pretty cut and dried, Commissioners. Would you like to pull it or go forward?
No problem. This is fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Always need a presenter, Lee. I'll let the sheriff know. Thank you. Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
this is funded by the U.S. Forest Service. This just sounds like a continuation of the operating plan. I see
Yeah.
no controversy involved in that. Do you, Stephen Madcourt?
I do not at all.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
No objection, move forward.
All right, thank you, Captain Eby, for being here. Next, Community Corrections. Item 1 and 2 we are pulling, and we'll bring back to it at a later date. So item 1 and 2 are being pulled. Item 3, approval of a sub-recipient agreement between Community Corrections and the Northwest Family Services for community-based victim services. The total agreement value is $78,960.48, funded through a State of Oregon Justice Reinvestment Grant. No county general funds are involved. Captain Malcolm McDonald is the Director of Community Corrections. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and Board. We'll cover 3 and 4 together. Essentially, I'll let you read it.
One at a time, please, Malcolm.
Yes, but in general, both are funding that comes from our Justice Reinvestment Grant that specifically requires the county to direct 10% of those funds to community-based victim services. So we have a total of 4. We only have 2 before the board today. And this process goes through the local Public Safety Coordinating Council, where the community-based victim services organizations can submit applications, and the local Public Safety Coordinating Council will review those and make a award based on those applications and divide that 10% up between the organizations they see are most fit and benefit the county.
Any questions or comments for the presenter? Any objections to this moving forward? Hearing none.
Item 4, approval of a sub-recipient agreement between Community Corrections and Clackamas Women's Services for community-based victim services. Total agreement value is $111,623.46, funded through a State of Oregon Justice Reinvestment Grant. No county general funds are involved.
Same as the prior.
Any questions or comments? Objections to this going forward? Seeing none. Thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Next, disaster management, approval and promulgation of an emergency operations plan for Clackamas County. There is no financial impact. Daniel Neibauer is Interim Director of Disaster Management. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and Administrator Smith. Thank you each for taking the time to review the emergency operations plan. As you know, it is the framework for how the county will respond and manage disasters that impact the county and the community. Following promulgation, disaster management staff will get to work implementing the plan, which will include training for internal and external partners, as well as developing more tactical procedures and protocols for specific disasters and functions.
Great. Has board had a chance to review that? It's good work, Daniel, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for answering all my continual questions.
No problem.
Excellent. Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Next, Transportation and Development. 1, approval of a contract with North Star Electric for the Regional Freight ITS project, which will improve reliability and safety for freight vehicles and the traveling public within the Clackamas and Wilsonville industrial areas of Clackamas County. Total contract value is $1,373,720, funded through Federal Surface Transportation Block Grant and the County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Just a little more clarity on that contract. The contract is for the construction of traffic signal improvements on Ellingson Road, Southwest 95th Avenue, Southwest Wilsonville Road, Southwest Sunnybrook Boulevard, and 82nd Drive in the Clackamas County area. The improvements include, but are not limited to, installation of radar detection, installation of pan-tilt zoom cameras, installing wireless connections, and furnishing traffic signal controllers. So why? Essentially, the radar detection will provide the ability to help truck traffic safely navigate through a signalized intersection by not displaying a yellow indication prematurely and forcing the truck to drive in a go, no-go decision. Secondly, reducing braking and slow startup times for larger truck traffic, improving safety and delay. The radar detection will provide accurate and ongoing vehicle counts at key locations. The cameras will fill in missing gaps in our current traffic monitoring system, which basically staff use these cameras to view traffic signal conditions and respond to events in real time. Images are also publicly available via ODOT's TripCheck website. Wireless interconnects and upgrade traffic signal controllers allow county engineers to make traffic signal changes remotely in real time and provide detailed signal operations. The project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on January 10th, 2022. Bids were opened on February 3rd. And essentially, the contract you see before you with North Star was the lowest responsive bidder. So I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
Wow. Any comments, questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Mark.
Dan, could this system be developed in the future to do photo ticketing of?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any objections to this moving forward? Martha, you have a question?
Well, these are just on and off ramps, right? I mean, it's the technology that is moving the traffic with.
They're around the
like,
transitions.
systems. Right.
Correct,
yeah.
the intersections and the transitions, yes. Yep.
I've always wanted to get my hands on those buttons.
I'm terrified to do that. So.
I know that.
Yeah, it's quite technical, holy cow, yes. Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a contract with Stellar J Corporation for the South End Road Milepost 3.8 project, which will stabilize the roadway and slope at that location. Total contract value is $3,272,707.25, funded through the Federal Emergency Relief Funds, and the amount of $2,936,600.22, and a 10.27% match of $335,107.03, funded through the County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
I'm not sure if you've seen page 1 of this report. We have talked to you extensively about this project. For the sake of the discussion, I will go through just briefly one more time. We have obtained Federal Emergency Relief Program funds to stabilize the roadway and slope on South End Road at milepost 3.8. This was in regards to some damage from March 2017, heavy rains occurring during that time. We've constructed temporary repairs. These are the permanent repairs. Essentially, the permanent solution is to stabilize the road in this location. We've designed and stabilization will consist of a 450-foot long tie-back soldier pile wall and a 318-foot long cantilever wall. Construction costs, the construction phase costs an anticipated $3.9 million, which includes construction engineering and inspection services, and remaining costs are still related to design and right-of-way. Construction is anticipated to begin in May of 2022, and about 13 months, give or take, for that construction period. So the project was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on January 24th, 2022. Bids were opened publicly on February 22nd. There were 4 bidders. Essentially, Stellar J Corporation was determined to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder that proposed.
Good. Any comments or questions? Any objections to moving forward? Seeing none?
Thank you, Dan. Finally, Technology Services, approval of a service level agreement with MCI Metro for the lease of dark fiber on the Clackamas County Broadband Exchange Fiber Network. MCI Metro will pay a reoccurring lease fee of $21,112.80 annually for the 4 connections. The funding for this expansion of the Clackamas Broadband Exchange fiber network will be from the Clackamas Broadband Exchange budget and then reimbursed by MCI Metro. No county general funds are involved. Dave DeVore, Interim Director of Technology Services, Duke Dexter, CBX Manager. Go ahead.
Well said. Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners. Pretty much is a standard SLA between MCI Metro, one of our national partners, and use of our local fiber to help bolster their services. A minimum is 5 years at $21,000 a year, up to 9 years total. Pretty straightforward.
Any questions or comments, Mark?
Yes, does CCBX come out ahead on this financially?
Mhm.
You do? Okay.
Great, thank you.
Self-support. We want to do it otherwise.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm sure. I had to ask it.
No, understood.
Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none.
Great, thank you. So all these items, Commissioners, will go on your agenda business meeting for this Thursday, except for the 2 you pulled from Community Corrections. Okay, back to the issues list. Request for a public hearing on April 7, 2022 on the proposed Community Development 2022-2026 Consolidated Action Plan and 2022 Action Plan. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services. Mark Soroy from Community Development. This is similar to what you just did for HAC, Housing Authority. It's a HUD requirement. Go ahead.
Yes, and I'll just hand it right over to Mark, who will give you a brief presentation on what's happening.
Go ahead, Mark.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, once again, this is an annual application process for HUD funding. So we have a 5-year plan. It's up for comment right now. That comment period will end, will end April 11th. So we'll have our public hearing on April 7th to receive any testimony. I'll give you an update on the program and what we're doing. Part of that 5-year plan includes a 1-year application. And right now, we don't have the actual grant amounts because the federal government just passed their budget a couple of weeks ago. So when I'm in a public hearing with you, I may not have those actual grant amounts. And I was planning to come back to you in April sometime with the grant application. But that may be delayed until I get the actual grant amount.
So we will have a hearing on April 7th without the actual grant amounts. Is this a 2-hearing situation?
Well, the public hearing is a requirement of HUD that we talk about our program. When I come back to you with the actual grant amount and to submit to HUD, it doesn't have to be a public hearing. I can do that with you in policy session if you'd like, and just to kind of confirm.
It's mostly HUD-driven.
Yeah, I know it's HUD-driven.
Yeah, the 5-year, what the hearing will be about is the 5-year plan. So that's the overall view of what we would like to accomplish. What we won't have necessarily, we might, but we won't have necessarily are the actual spending and that's what we would bring back to you before we would move forward on it.
I understand. My question was, Gary, if this was a 2-hearing process, it is not. That's all I was asking.
And the board is not approving, the board's not making any decisions at that public hearing. They're just hearing from the public.
Yes.
You'll come back to the board at a policy session for them to make the final decision.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Because a lot of our hearings are a 2-hearing process, and in my mind, I was thinking about process, not what the actualities are. Things can change between now and April 7th, and maybe we'll know by April 7th. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Any objections to this moving forward?
No, I'm assuming that what's being proposed will be in the packet so that we can review it before the public hearing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Usually those packets are pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So April 7th, we'll have the public hearing. Thank you. Next, a legislative request, Oregon Zoo support letter. There was a memo in your packet and a draft letter. Chris Lyons from Public and Government Affairs Manager. Go ahead, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners. Here today to seek your approval on a letter of support for the Oregon Zoo, which is seeking a federal earmark for funding to support infrastructure improvements to the Johnson Center for Wildlife Conservation. This center is located in Clackamas County, and the funding would support their condor breeding program at the center, which has helped to significantly increase condors in the condor population in the wild, which is an endangered species. just like we've all experienced in Clackamas County, this facility suffered from all of the natural disasters over the past couple of years. So these improvements are intended to help the center better withstand future events. So the staff recommendation is to support their federal funding request by providing them with a letter of support. And I can add that our legislative principles speak to conservation of natural resources as well as disaster preparedness, and this funding would be directly coming into Clackamas County.
And this just is a request that Metro apply for federal funds, and since it's located in Clackamas County, we support it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, any other objections, questions? Commissioner Fisher.
Just a flag. Commissioner Schrader and I were at Senator Merkley's town hall, and this issue came up.
mentioned it.
And
Yeah.
he had mentioned that he wanted to put that on his visit list. And I was thinking, man, I would really like to take a visit there as well. I don't know if any other commissioners could, but if we could coordinate that when Senator Merkley does it, if any other commissioners would like to. I mean, these are one of the things that we do that is really nice to see firsthand.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you, Chris.
We can arrange that.
Thanks.
I think the letter is fine.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
All right, we'll send that letter on from you, commissioners. Next, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week Proclamation. Seeking your approval if you'd like to go forward on this. Cheryl Bledsoe is the director of our CCOM 911 Center. Cheryl, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a request to bring a proclamation before you on April 14th, which is in the middle of Telecommunicator Week, which runs from April 10th to April 16th. So we have a number of activities that are planned on site to support our staff, but annually we typically come before you to share our story of the past year and hope that you will proclaim your support for the telecommunicators in Clackamas County.
The language of the proclamation is in our materials posted online. Does anybody have any objections to any of the language used? Seeing none, I think that's a
Great.
go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. April 14th will be on your agenda. Thank you, Cheryl. Next, there's a request from a member of the public for you commissioners to declare April National Grange Month in Clackamas County. There's a draft resolution that was in your packet. That's kind of a boilerplate. You have done this prior, commissioners, at least the last 10 years, I recall. So would you like to have a National Grange proclamation at a future business meeting?
I see no objections, comments. It's pretty much the same as I think we've done every year for many, many years. Gary, does that appear on the consent agenda at the business meeting?
No, we do it as a presentation, and that staff or you would just read it, and then you'd vote. So we do that.
Any cookies?
Does anyone of the commissioners want to read this proclamation?
Well, usually what happens, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we often have actually a Grange member come and testify for us and read it themselves? So I would prefer, if that's what they prefer, that we follow that.
I'm not sure that's available to us this year, Paul. We checked on that.
Oh, is that right?
But if one of my commissioners would
Happy
like.
to.
Paul, you want to read it?
Sure, I'm sorry.
And what about telecommunications proclamation?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher, you can read that during the business meeting. And Commissioner Savas, if you would read the Grange one during the business meeting. And we'll have a special little carve out for that.
Great. So you're okay adding this to your future business meeting in April?
Yep.
Grange Month. And I have a question for you, thanks to Rick Cook from the Stafford Hamlet Commissioners. How many Granges are in Clackamas County?
34.
Wrong.
12.
Wrong.
27.
Wrong.
47.
You already answered.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
No, no,
11,
no,
12,
no.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
You want to
20.
guess, Commissioner Schrader? Don't look it up, Commissioner Schrader. Don't look it up. How many Granges? Anyone?
Martha.
Call. Commissioner Savas? Commissioner Fisher? Come on.
I was just counting.
Come on.
No idea.
I think I probably hit it.
Go ahead, Gary.
16. There are 16 active
Granges.
Granges in Clackamas County.
Good.
Oh, active. Okay, I didn't catch that active.
Sorry.
Yeah.
16 active Granges in Clackamas County. Currently active.
And just think of the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do a lot of those celebrations
I know.
and events.
Potlucks.
That was a trick question.
Potlucks, the most amazing food ever. And now we can really celebrate that we can,
Go back.
and appreciate that.
There's
It's
more
a-
Granges than that, but active is the key word, so.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Yes. All right, very good. Thank you. So we'll have the Grange proclamation on an upcoming business meeting. Next, Metro Solid Waste Fee Setting Update. Dan Johnson, come on down. There's a memo in your packet. There's a question if you'd like to do a support letter or not, commissioners. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation Development, with Cheryl Bell, Assistant Director of Transportation Development. As quickly as you can, please. Go ahead.
I wish I was talking about condors. So we had this long, pretty script set up for you folks today, and I'm just going to wing this and give more time for you to kind of discuss and share with us your thoughts. A couple things. If you recall, during our rate-setting effort last year, for those of you who were here, there was a dialogue regarding Metro's tipping fees, which were a part of that rate-setting process, which we had to pass on to our customers. And there was a request from the board at that point in time to have staff focused on tracking this issue, okay? So I'm not going to go through everything in the packet, but you can see the fact that we have continued to monitor and engage where Metro has provided a space to monitor and engage in the rate-setting process. I will tell you right now that the next official, and just to be clear, they are setting this rate through their budgetary process for basically their solid waste group. That's their process. They're setting that rate. Standard of the way that we set rates and fee increases throughout Clackamas County when we go through our budget process. I will say there has been some engagement. It's been more of presentations and forums than really a deep discussion. There has been limited dialogue with some of the elected official forums, namely MPAC. It is on today's agenda. We will be talking to you this afternoon. It is on this week's MPAC agenda. We will be talking to Commissioner Scholl this afternoon based off some of the feedback we hear today and also some thoughts that we have about some comments. I will tell you the next formal time to submit comments is April 5th. It's a public hearing. We have provided a variety of options in here. We believe at a minimum that the board may want to submit a letter as a part of that process. There is also the opportunity for a board member to speak as a part of that public hearing process. We are here to kind of glean from the board, if they wish to submit a letter, what they would like to see in that letter. We have some ideas, and I'm just going to briefly run through these. I guess there are there's 4 components on concepts that we have. One of which is the fact that there needs to be consensus, a regional consensus around these infrastructure or capital programs that Metro is looking to develop. Because as with any capital program, that then dictates rate increases, fee increases, and revenue needed to facilitate that. So the idea is, hey, you know what? This is under construction. Let's get consensus from the region around that first. Second is a discussion around our private transfer stations, making sure they are being held accountable with our Metro facilitated transfer stations. Next is a discussion around balancing of revenue to offset increasing demands on our staff to provide regional waste coordination. Basically making funds more predictable in that. We are getting Metro who is staffing up. We are having to facilitate that. It's like, okay, let's have a discussion, Metro, about how those funds come through so that we are able to keep up with the rate of dialogue that's going on at the regional level. And then last but not least, while there have been these focus groups and discussions, improved engagement with the public and elected officials. And then we talked about briefly the fact that they have had focus groups and they've had talks, but there has been no meaty discussion kind of at these regional tables, namely MPAC and other entities where our elected officials can engage in that discussion. And I will tell you that should the board direct staff to develop a letter, we would request that we will take those comments from the board today about their thoughts, number 1. Number 2, we will see how the discussion at MPAC goes this week. And then also, we are aware of the fact that there is a council work session with Metro that's scheduled for Thursday, March 31st. And so we would basically wait to see what discussions happen at that level, incorporate the boards, see if it modifies or redirects some of the comments and concerns the board may have, forward that letter around to you so you can take a look at it, and then come back to you at issues next week and have a discussion with the Board of County Commissioners to make sure we have captured your thoughts and submit it that day, because that is the day that it would be required, should the board desire to do so.
Okay.
That's a lot. I'm done for now.
Let's recapitalize a little bit, so the people listening can understand what's going on here. On December 16th, 2021, Metro in a work session projected disposal costs would increase up to approximately $150 per ton, or a 50% increase over 7 years. That's what is at issue here, correct?
That is correct.
A 50% increase in disposal cost. My first question is, what kind of cost does that transfer to our people paying the fee and using the services? How much cost, for my can at the bottom of my driveway, would that be? Do we know?
We could estimate that. I mean, the nuances around, we would probably have to do it, if you read that reference again, it's by 2027. So we would probably have to give you an estimate of, at its highest and most impactful amount, here's what it would mean for our rate holders.
Maybe next year in the future year would be, okay.
Yep.
And Commissioners, I want to direct you to page 3 of the memo. The very first question that I believe, these are questions submitted to Metro, correct, Dan?
That is correct.
The first question asked was, please provide details to support Metro projection of disposal cost increases of 50% over 7 years in order to maintain a status quo. What are the cost drivers that require this level of increase? Their response was, no response provided. So we don't really know what they're going to do with the money. They're using a lot of foo-foo language. Oh, we need to maintain status quo. We need to do this and this. Do they want to build a new facility?
That is the discussion.
Do they want to build a new facility yet, but they have no idea how much the new facility is going to cost, but they're going to go out and raise everybody's rates 50%? Oh, just because. Am I hearing that correct?
That is what they are telling us are their projections on the rate increases they are having and what they
Okay,
believe
so-
their infrastructure needs may be.
Commissioners, I, for one, have very much opposed to this on so many levels. A 50% rate increase over 7 years, maybe it's only 10% one year, 10% the next year. It is a rate increase coming after the time of COVID when people are still trying to get their bearings, they're working and blah, 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 blah. Additionally, Metro does not think they have to be accountable to their adjoining jurisdictions, for instance, like Clackamas County, the tri-counties, any of the cities that are involved, and we have 16 cities in Clackamas County. Do they have questions on what that fee service is going to? And then we have the huge unincorporated areas where, like myself, I pay more than the rest of you because I live in an outlying area. Yes, I choose to get my disposal services, but I also think because I choose to use this service, because I choose to recycle and have all the other add-ons, that I'm a good steward of the environment in doing so, even though I live in South Clackamas County. So there's a lot of questions here, Dan. You say a support letter. How about a disagreement letter? I don't see a support letter as being the correct nomenclature to use for this.
I would agree with that. I would agree it be a comment letter regarding their rate setting process.
And there are some questions and answers on this, Commissioners. Those are just my initial thoughts on this. I read through this memo and I'm thinking, we already had a 16% tipping fee increase. That was a cost increase to the users of these services, to the public, and now they want to do this. Between two commissioners, I'm not sure who had their hand up first. Commissioner Schrader, you're up.
Okay. I do know, this is for Commissioner Shull's benefit too, that there are other jurisdictions across the region who are very upset with that. So I'm pretty sure you know who they are. And it might be good to get a coalition together when the night that's discussed, because the primary piece that I heard when I was doing this was, number one, that we cannot get details, and that is causing heartburn, I think, with our friends in Washington County in particular. So
that's correct.
So I think a coalition of I think it'll be a hot topic, and we will not be alone.
Yeah, we won't be alone. And Commissioner Schrader, you say a coalition. Do you mean MPAC?
I mean at MPAC.
At MPAC? Are you thinking something else?
At the table. No, I'm thinking of the folks who are sitting at the table at MPAC who have expressed their heartburn over this proposal because of lack of transparency and clarity. And I think, the mayor of Beaverton, I think, has expressed issues? Who are some of the other mayors out there?
I guess,
You know, you've-
I don't want to
There's
misspeak,
a-
but I will tell you this list of questions was vetted with a number of regional partners that are out there
Yeah.
that shared the same concerns, and it's been vetted through those groups.
Yeah, Dan, before I call, are you finished?
I'm done.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
So I'm interested in the intersection of all of this with, we have the Ridwell situation, we have the challenge of disposing of certain types of waste, and how all of this is interrelated. I think it all affects, and we need to really understand and review this as a whole commission so that we can speak with an effective voice. And am I wrong in that? Or what are your thoughts?
I'm never going to say a commissioner's wrong.
Yes, you can.
That's like a
I'm good with that.
career flashing
And
light
I'm
kind
not
of
sure what
flashes.
the time frame is for us. I know that's going to come back to us, the
The Ridwell discussion is going to be coming forward to the board for consideration. There has been a recommendation from the Solid Waste Committee, and that's mostly around the franchising system that we have and how we regulate that internally. It doesn't have a lot to deal with the complexities and the scope of the fee increases that are being considered here today.
But isn't there a relationship that people aren't able to dispose of certain things through the system? I'm just on the website here looking at getting rid of your hazardous materials through Metro, that it's much easier to just call up Ridwell, put it there, pay for it, and then the challenge is that it's inequitable across the county because not everybody can pay for Ridwell, and the transfer stations with the recycling capacities don't have enough potential capacity to separate and deal with the recycled hazardous materials, and it's just it's a system, and one lever affects the other. And so if we're going to come out in opposition to, I want to know, they have to be transparent. They got to say, this is what we need and this is why. Like, I'm all in support of that. But
They haven't done that.
Yeah, and I want to understand that.
We would love to understand that. They just haven't shared
But I think
information.
it's bigger than just the fees. It's a whole system that isn't working. And they may need a facility because the one in Clackamas is too small, I understand.
There are discussions around capacity.
Yeah.
I am not a waste savant. I don't know all these nuances around waste, but I will tell you that there are discussions around capacity in the system, which I think that's why they're developing this plan around development of future capital investments going on to build that capacity. That is different from the discussion around that certain organization providing waste collection services. If you were to ask me, do I believe the scope of that service has a direct and substantial impact on the rates we're seeing now, I probably would say no, because it's a smaller component of the total waste stream. And that's information we'll be providing to you when we come back in front of the Board of County Commissioners with a policy session to share the Solid Waste Commission's recommendation on Ridwell specifically. And we can have more discussion around that, around scope and scale. I mean, these numbers that you're seeing are solely predicated on, one, what they perceive as a capital need and an increased capacity need for the majority of the waste that we are dealing with. And that is not the clamshell discussion. That is the big waste discussion. It's the commercial hauler discussion. It's the increased population discussion. It's all of that. And we don't have, and as you said, you said, I want to know that, and we shared that. There hasn't been a lot of discussion around that. There's just been a discussion around this rate-setting process through their budgetary dialogue, so.
So in their budget, they're going to pass a rate increase. Sounds like that's, according to this memo. During their budget process, which is coming up, they're just going to pass a 50% rate increase without justification or letting those who are paying it know what's going on. And I think that's where this board has the biggest angst. We don't know what their plans are for spending the money. We don't know how much they need for capacity building, like you say, but maybe they do. But that's a process, I think, that must go through, because a 50% rate increase, even if they can justify it, frankly, I'm going to have a hard yes. I can't see how I'm going to do that. I think I think in the years past, if they have spent down the reserves. It says in paragraph 2, about halfway through, historically, Metro has used fund balance reserves to fund annual repairs and maintenance to the sites and the equipment. Maybe they did that too long. They spent down their reserves too long and far. That's a management issue. Maybe that was a poor management issue. And maybe how they dispose of their yard garbage can be looked at. Maybe they can do a better job in a lot of these areas where they're not. And quite frankly, competition, is probably a good thing. But regarding the Ridwell situation, that's a total different topic, I believe, aside from what Metro wants to do. And I don't think we need to confuse those two issues. That's a different decision, a decision point that we need to come to on this. So Dan, you're going to come back next week to do what?
So to reiterate, our desire is thank you so much for sharing your comments, and it looks like there's going to be additional comments here. We are going to craft about two things. We are going to listen to the impact discussion today and talk with Commissioner Scholl about information he may want to share as a part of a comment in there. We're also going to listen to the Metro Council work session, which is Thursday, where there may be more information that comes forward. From that discussion, we will build a letter of response based on the comments you've shared with us today, and probably an informational memo on top of that shares new information that may have come to light, so the board is aware of that. We will then request from the county administrator to come back at issues next week and get consensus from the board that you are comfortable with submitting that letter. Should the board be comfortable in submitting that letter, we will submit it that day as public comment into that forum for their budget setting process.
And we need that fast of a turnaround.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, Commissioner Savas, your card is up.
Yeah. So, as I recall, when we had the discussion last year, there were numbers that were thrown out there. I brought up the issue of the minimum fee for self-haul and, why it was where it was and perhaps the frequency of that. But anyhow, long story short, with all these moving pieces here, at the time, there were two new regional facilities that were being considered, one in Clackamas and one in Washington County. And I know that they abandoned their interest in the site on Jennifer Avenue and are no longer pursuing that. That property, by the way, is already sold. The question really is, I don't know how they can project really at this point or have the same numbers, if that's the case, 150 per ton or 50% increase. We don't know if they're building one facility or not, or if they're building two facilities. I think the first question that was pointed out to that still remains unanswered needs to be answered. I think we need to understand that. If we don't have an opportunity on behalf of the ratepayers and the region to ask the question, then who does? And I did attend one of those Metro Council, what they call them, forums or listing set, whatever they were, and there was no opportunity to input anything. It was pretty dry. It was pretty lengthy. I couldn't associate any of the questions or concerns I had to anything that was discussed, frankly. So this is all just too big picture, and to commit to 7 years and just say, oh yeah, they'll just handle it and we'll just make sure it's all right. It just is woefully vague, and somehow they need to step up their game. We asked them to step up their game, but this is not what I anticipated, frankly. There's lack of substance here. So I support the letter and getting to the finances. I want to know what they're going to build and why they still project $150 or 150% increase over, or 50% increase over 5 years or 7 years, whatever the number was.
And if it's possible, when you come back next week, to try to get a list of what the other jurisdictions are saying, if they're in alignment with what especially our cities in Clackamas County.
Yeah, there is 50% over 7 years, $150 per ton.
Yeah, 50% over 7 years, yeah. And, if it's possible, I don't know if that will be possible, but do your best.
We will.
Any other, Sonia, is your card up?
Oh, sorry, I'm going to do better.
Okay, is that all on this topic, commissioners? Thank you, Dan, are you clear?
Crystal.
I want to make
More
sure.
information to come.
Yeah, talk to Gary if you need anything. Commissioners, we have one more issue yet. However, I would like a 5-minute break. So let's return at,
Thank you, Chair Smith.
At 11:21 to finish the last item.
I just took my 2-minute break.
For the Board of County Commissioners, issues and updates. Gary, what's up?
Next, advisory boards and commission appointments. Shannon, go ahead, please.
Thank you. We have one today. It's the Committee for Community Involvement, staffed by Public and Government Affairs. They currently have 3 openings on their commission due to term expirations. After their recruitment, they received 3 applications, and all 3 are being recommended. They are Gordon Slatford, Richard Napon, and Bill Merchant.
Move for approval?
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved for approval for this ABC, and Commissioner Scholl has seconded. Any further comments? Hearing none. Shannon, please take the poll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. Next, Commissioners, you have two business meetings this week. First, tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th, you will be meeting as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board at 6 p.m. Via Zoom, a entirely remote meeting. And then on Thursday, March 31st, is your regular county business meeting at 10 a.m. here at the county. If you have any questions on any agenda item, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer that for you in advance. Next, we're going to revise the order of the remaining items to hopefully get through them all here in 35 minutes. First, Clackamas Volunteers in Medicine sponsorship request. There was a memo in your, or a flyer in your packet. Chair Smith, would you like to introduce that?
I was approached by Martha Spears. They're having a fundraiser because they are short on the raising the amount of money to their goal. This commission, through Rod Cook and H3S, has already provided $650,000 in a community block grant from the federal government to the remodel of their clinic. She asked for a larger amount. Gary and I decided, we've given a lot. If you want to do a $1,500 donation or not is what we can do or not, and that buys us a couple seats at the table for the fundraiser. Is that correct?
It will give you four seats to the fundraiser at
Okay.
$1,500. Yeah.
Yes, and so they're trying to raise money for that. Commissioners, I have no emotion involved in this. It's up to you whether you think it's a good idea to do this.
And we're talking champion level, Judy? Which level are we talking?
Champion level of $1,500.
I think it's a good idea.
Chair?
Yes.
I would advocate for maybe the next level up at $3,000. These
That's
folks
okay,
provide very essential services, and that would give us admission for 6 folks, and I would encourage people to attend. It's a nice event, and for a great cause, and these dollars go directly to our citizens in this county, so.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do that. Frankly, I didn't know what the temperature of the board was, but, and maybe we can all go and be part of the fundraiser and have fun.
I've already got it on my calendar.
Yeah, me too.
So,
Any comments? Do I hear a motion?
So moved for the $3,000 level.
Seconded.
Commissioner Savas has moved for $3,000 level to support the Volunteers in Medicine fundraising event.
Yes.
Yeah, and Commissioner Scholl has seconded that. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that this $3,000, if it pushes them a little bit closer to breaking ground and a day closer to providing services to our people, it's worth it.
Oh, I agree. And they've been caught, just like the rest of us, with increasing costs. And they have raised, oh my gosh, they have raised about $2.3 million. And they are running short on because of projected costs. We know about the contract. We had some starts and stops with the contract. And this is a program that I just really like since I was a commissioner last time. Commissioner Schrader.
I think the other thing we did for them, and I don't know if we're still doing this, is aren't they under our risk pool for the docs that are volunteering their time in terms of insurance?
No, they're not.
Not anymore?
I talked to one of the doctors there and wants to like to revisit that. I think we should revisit that.
Okay.
I think it was pointed out that we're the only jurisdiction that does not, I can't remember the exact details, but a lot of other
Yeah, they will cover, they will
jurisdictions
cover the
cover the insurance.
medical insurance for the docs that are volunteering.
Sometimes
And,
hospitals do that.
Yeah.
They do that at the Stafford Clinic that we approved of on a
Right.
land use basis. So I think they are looking at a particular hospital group for more
Okay,
assistance,
good.
but I'm not privy to say if that's going or not.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good point.
I knew at one point we did.
We did.
But we don't have to continue if they have another venue to do that. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the hospital groups is also interested in training and increasing the work pool of providers for all health areas. You know, PAs
Fantastic.
and nurses and doctors and da-da-da-da. So, that's interesting. Okay, a motion has been made, did I say that already, by Commissioner Savas for 3,000? Okay, no further comments. Shannon, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Gary.
Sure, just one last thing on this, on that insurance thing, is that it's been pointed out to me, Bob, that Clackamas County is the anomaly, not the norm on this one, on the insurance.
That's good to know. That really is.
The other
It's,
counties will come, yeah.
well, I remember back when we had a different department head at H3S, and they were getting off the ground, and it was an anomaly, and it fell through the cracks, that one or two of the physicians who were volunteering had retired, and therefore their liability insurance did not transfer with them in their duties at this clinic. And so the other doctors had the insurance attached because they were still gainfully employed, if I remember that right. But I think it needs to be revisited, of course.
Yeah, and it seems to me that if it's insurance and it's for this cause, that there's, necessarily, there might be, well, there's general fund, obviously, available to pay for it, but there might be other H3S dollars that might legitimately fund it for the services rendered.
Sure.
Not as though it's an insurance cost, but that it helps provide those services in effect.
Okay. Did we take the poll yet?
You haven't voted. Oh, I'm sorry, you did. Yeah, yes, we did.
Motion passes 5-0.
That's good.
Okay, thank you. Next, Reimagine Oregon update. Commissioner Fisher will present, and Martine Koblenz, the county's Equity and Inclusion Officer, can help support. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you, Gary. So I just wanted to bring this up to the board because Commissioner Scholl and I have been attending these meetings, and we have another meeting coming up this Friday. I'm pretty sure that Martha Schrader and Commissioner Savas, we did a lot of work on this with the prior board when these issues came before us. Martine did a great job in putting together a memo in the packet. I don't know if everybody has seen it, but it outlines the different initiatives or, what do you call them, requests that we work on, which for the most part, the initiatives are things that the county has prioritized and has prioritized over the years, and so it was welcome by this board to talk about how we are moving forward, especially when it comes to maternal child health, behavioral health, fair housing. These issues have been important to us in Clackamas County for quite some time. The request from the group early on that different jurisdictions defund or divest from law enforcement is an issue that we in Clackamas County from the very beginning have never said that we would agree to, and always said that we would not agree to defund, divest law enforcement. In fact, been very vocal about our support of additional resources for law enforcement as evidenced in our public safety levy. So that being said, the position has been that there is not one person that is the lead or the liaison, that anything that we do with this group is a Board of County Commissioner effort, and then we stand united in how we approach this spreadsheet, which is there for the world to see, which Martine put so well in this memo. And I wanted us all to just go through, make sure we're still all on the same page, because that gives Commissioner Scholl and I much stronger voice when we speak as one body from Clackamas County.
Okay, so Martine, you put this memo together, evidently at the behest of Commissioner Fisher, and I believe these are programs that Clackamas County has already been engaging in for the last several years.
For the most part, yes. They are programs or services, things that are in alignment with Clackamas County initiatives and priorities, and also with the opening of the Equity and Inclusion Office.
The what?
Also, in the opening of the Equity and Inclusion Office, it's in alignment with our principles as well.
Okay, this is the issue I have with this organization. This board, the newly elected board, which we've been here since last January, has never taken a position on Reimagine Oregon. Can you imagine my shock and surprise when I went onto the website, and it wasn't that long ago, and it's still on the website as of yesterday, the police disinvestments. And in here, they call to take $2 million out of the Clackamas County Sheriff's Department. And they have called for a lot of statements regarding the disinvestment of our police. And I saw that Commissioners Bernard, Fisher, and Savas, And quite frankly, I was really shocked by that, and I'm almost embarrassed that any of our commissioners, at whatever time in Clackamas County, would join on to an organization that is not peaceful, that their actions have been destructive, and I believe that's why we have had the controversy that we've had in Portland, because they were successful in defunding the police in Portland. And Commissioner and City Commissioner Councilor Joanne Hardesty was very successful in that effort. And even though they've tried to rebuild their police force, it is still a detriment to the city. It has caused, in my mind, irreparable harm. I believe this is a radical left extremist group that I want no association with whatsoever. I'm not sure why we're doing this. I think we're asking for trouble. Look, Commissioners, I had a conversation with Washington County counterpart last night about this. They too are equally concerned about this, and they have asked for this group to remove all references to defunding police, and they refuse to. And you know why that is? Because it is at their core value and belief system that they believe that should be done. They have been criticized publicly, and I'm doing it again now. They have an opportunity to do that, yet they refuse. I don't know how the BCC or any organization can say, oh, I support this little bit over here, but because they cause so much havoc, we're agreeing with this over here. I don't think so. And our Performance Clackamas County Plan, one of our 10 goals is to ensure safe, healthy, and secure communities. We do that by funding our courthouse and a jail and all law enforcement operations. We don't do this by supporting half-assed notion of a Portland organization who has defunded and vilified police time and time again. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, thank you. I was at a meeting in January, I think it was, with Commissioner Fisher on Reimagine, Oregon, and I briefed them on the Clackamas County mental health plans going into the future and how they affect minorities. I was happy to do that. I'd be happy to present to Reimagine, Oregon any information that they need in that manner. But one thing I want to say is I am concerned about the safety of all of our people, no matter what the color of their skin is in Clackamas County. And in the last couple years, the defunding the police issue has resulted in huge, huge problems across our nation where that has happened. And in Portland, for example, this year already, we're up to 29 murders. We're up to over 200 shootings, and the chief of police of Portland says that we're on track in Portland City for over 1,500 shootings in 2022. The defund the police initiative back in 2020, in part, was based on the George Floyd death. And our Clackamas County Sheriff's Department and our city police departments were at that time already very well trained. But since then, all of our police have undergone additional training regarding the restrictive holds that they can use. And our police forces in Clackamas County are professional. They stand up every morning to serve all our people, no matter what group they might be from. And so someone that I have always respected, I've read many of his books, Dr. Thomas Sowell, senior fellow, Hoover Institute at Stanford University, said on 12 July 2020, quote, "Defunding the police or reducing the police force is utter madness. I never dreamed we would come to this point, unquote. And so, again, I and the people of Clackamas County, I believe all of us, and to include many of the people from Reimagine Oregon, believe in liberty, equality, competition, choice for all people. And I think that Clackamas County, our staff, we work on upholding the rights, equality, the chance for everybody in this county to work to achieve their dreams. And I think we can do that without endorsing Reimagine Oregon until such time that Reimagine Oregon reassess their own basic or their own base values for their organization and relook at the need to have well-trained, well-funded police agencies that support law and order 24/7, 365. And again, anytime Reimagine Oregon needs me to brief them on anything the county's doing, I'd be happy to do so. But I look forward to the organization to once again reassess their values when it comes to law and order, and then we can look at it again. Thank you.
Mr. Savas.
Yeah, so I think a little bit of history is important here, and maybe a couple misunderstandings here as well. So when Reimagine first invited us, we didn't know what their agenda was. There was nothing there. We just attended because we were invited as jurisdictions, so we went there to learn and listen. I attended a few meetings, 3, maybe 4. My interest, again, my wheelhouse, you guys know what you assign me to, transportation, land use stuff. I've been a big advocate of getting to the cause of homelessness, which is quite related to displacement, anti-displacement policies. One of the principals of this group invited me, and she and I met several years ago at a conference about just that, anti-displacement. So I went, and I think Commissioner Fisher went, and some others went over the years, over time, not the years, but over time. It only took me about, again, 2-3 meetings to realize that, and they did not prioritize my effort on any displacement or transportation land use thing. So, and I asked politely again if they would reconsider that, and they did not. So I felt my role or my interest was not really there, or was not going to be realized with Reimagine Oregon. And I certainly saw all the growing interests and levels, and a lot of it assigned more towards the legislative side of things and the governor's office and so forth. That's really where a lot of their action took place. I, subsequently, no longer participated in 2020, so it didn't take me very long. But I was surprised, Chair, like you said, kind of in a way, that there was a website. I didn't learn about it until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I contacted the principal again. I said, please, reiterated basically what I just said here. I said, please remove my name as a participant. It doesn't say support, doesn't say endorse, but I am not a participant. I mentioned that the 2 people that are currently attending in a participant fashion are Commissioner Fisher and Commissioner Scholl. And please update your website. It's out of date, but there's been no update. I called, I left a message, I spoke, I left a voicemail, no response as of yet. So at the very least, I think, thank you, Martine, for outlining, what we have done. This came to us in November, by the way. So, Chair, we talked about this in November a little bit as far as an update. But so what they have on the website's out of date, even to what you've kind of put here, because there's some things here that are not there. So I would simply ask, when you go there Friday, please update the website. I don't think that the board per se, or any administration or any jurisdiction is supportive or has the word support or endorsing Reimagine.
Right, no.
And so with all that said, we go to a lot of meetings, right? Chair, you've attended OTC meetings on tolling. Just because you attend an OTC meeting or I attend an ODOT meeting on tolling doesn't mean that I believe wholeheartedly or embrace tolling. Clearly not, right? Our job is to go to meetings and go to functions and organizations, represent the county's best interest. I do that. We all do that. We don't buy in or say we support ODOT or we support tolling or we endorse tolling because we went to a meeting about tolling. So I think that's got to be clear that people don't mix messages there. So is there something in there? My question is there something in there that we say the county supports or endorses everything on their agenda? I don't believe it says that. I couldn't find that. Commissioner Fisher is correct. At no point did we consider, with any seriousness that we would defund the police or anything else. As a matter of fact, when that came on the agenda, the subsequent budget, which was last year, 2021, there was no cuts. So I want to make it perfectly clear that a lot of those things were not in our wheelhouse, and I'm not sure what it really is today because I cannot find it on the website. The website is outdated. So what's real, I don't know, but I would leave it to Commissioner Fisher. You've attended virtually every meeting.
Well, I would like to say, Paul, you innocently attended a meeting or two. Yet they used your title and your name and your position as a form of endorsement. So somebody out there seeking information is going to go on the website and see that. And quite frankly, in a way, I would be very upset if my name was on there, knowing that they continue to defund their police by their statements, their refusal to listen to, quote, elected officials in the region whatsoever. I think there's been, Paul, to your request, many times, take this off, and they refuse to do that. I don't see how the BCC can engage with an organization that continues to want to do that. I have some more comments, but we have a couple commissioners with their cards.
Can I just finish with one thing, Chair? And that is that I think that if we can, I think Martine's worked with them, if we can glean some information from them that better helps with our EDI, I think there's value if we can do that. I don't necessarily think it needs to be in any form a means of support or endorse. Doesn't necessarily mean that Commissioner Fisher or Commissioner Schultz can't attend if they choose to. But I think that maybe they should strike the name Clackamas County if they want to. No one's refused, but I want to make it perfectly clear. That's my biggest point here. No one's refused to remove or update the website. It just hasn't happened, even though I made a formal request.
Actually, they have refused.
Have they?
Yes, they have.
Okay, so
They
you talked
have.
to someone?
Yes, I did. My counterpart in Washington County,
Okay.
as I alluded to earlier, and that is a problem. When this particular defund and vilify police is at your core base, your core philosophy, that poses an issue for us. And us, by supplying them with any documents, in my opinion, is further support. Now, we are living in some times of, it could be a hotbed. We've seen that in our committee room. We've had to adjust our schedule, we've had to adjust our procedures going forward through the November elections. It's their core function of the organization. You know, it's their driving force, and I would submit in some areas, probably that's how they're doing a lot of fundraising, but they have this pretend umbrella, that we're doing all this good stuff. As a matter of fact, they aren't doing anything. It's the counties who are doing the work, and they're trying to take advantage of that. Commissioner Schrader.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to go first, Sonia?
No.
All right. Okay.
This is a really good, important conversation.
So here's what I've been thinking through this, trying to figure out, okay, how do we solve this issue? Systemic racism does exist. We're not acknowledging that. And the reason I say that, it's not only African-American folks. I mean, having my boy was always he was like, and I've mentioned that before. So with this organization, I think that's what they're trying to do is understand what is systemic racism, how does it affect them. I would strongly suggest that we ask them to include the whole BIPOC community, the whole BIPOC community, because when you look at our folks that are living in this county, we have a high number of Mexican folks, Hispanic folks, Latinos, Latinos. We have a large Slavic community that is, I guess the appropriate, I love this one. The term is white adjacent, okay, but they're also discriminated against in many ways. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just the, Mark, it's just the jargon out there, okay? I'm not trying to do hot buttons. I'm just saying there's a lot of that out there. We have an Asian American community, of which, APAC, all of those communities. So I think that if I was to talk to this organization, I would encourage them to broaden their scope to look in solidarity with the Black community and all the other communities that are dealing with similar kinds of issues here. I think that, to me, is a better way to go. Now, in terms of public safety, defunding the police was absolutely nonsense. Our public safety folks need to be funded for the training they need to deal with other communities. Well, that was interesting. All right. So I guess my notion would be is this. I think we should be very clear with what we disagree with this group. Yes, I do think they have an agenda. I never went back to the meeting because I felt that I did not understand systemic racism. Okay, and I mentioned an author, Ibram Kendi, who's written a lot of books on this, and I started to read it. And I remember feeling very sad because I was kind of told, and maybe I took this wrong, I know that Martine, you were there, that this was a sacred space and that my journey of trying to understand this was my journey. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to go on this journey. I'm going to read these books. I'm going to really try and understand what we're talking about here. So that's why I never went back, and I don't think they know that. I just felt as if I just felt as if the fact I'm really trying to get a handle on this, because it is an important topic, and it's a topic that's very dangerous to broach. Absolutely.
Of course it's dangerous.
Because it basically hits everybody's hot buttons.
Of course it is.
However,
And you haven't-
yeah. But here's my suggestion. There's no way we're going to defund the police if we don't stay at this table and we don't show them the work we are doing in a way that is valuable and correct. We won't ever change them. They won't ever see that this is maybe that we're trying to do maybe a more holistic approach. Now, we also are talking about a group of individuals in this country who have really suffered. Okay, Black community has suffered. We can't deny that. We can't deny that people were brought here against their will. Okay, and that is the pain that they are working through with this. But my suggestion would be to stay at the table, tell them there's no defunding the police. We will never agree to that. We should do more, community policing is something that's extremely significant, that allows people to enter communities. That's the kind of thing we should be funding. That is the kind of mental health work we should be doing. And we are doing that with our sheriff's office. Our sheriff's office is already committed to this. So my thing was we can either walk away, or we can send Commissioner Scholl and Commissioner Sonia at the table to continue to say, we're not going to go there with this. And we have to look at a broader piece of who has been racially discriminated against, as well as our Black community. I do know that Canby, the Chinese community, has had plenty of difficulty in this state. And I do know that in Canby there is a history of murdering Chinese folks. I mean, so all of those kinds of things are part of that notion of racism. So that's what I would do. I would just say, no, this is bigger than this, and how can we help integrate what we're doing into this? But we are never going to defund Sheriff's Office. We see what that has done, a knee-jerk reaction in Portland. Our police officers need more training.
And they're getting it.
And they're getting it. That's
In
what they
Clackamas
need.
County especially.
And you know, I'm not going to get partisan here, but by God, Joe Biden got up on the podium, okay, whether you love Joe Biden or not. And he said that nationally, we are not going to go there. Folks are operating, at least when I've been understand about systemic racism, out of pain and feeling discriminated against and feeling as if they don't belong. So I get that. Let's just acknowledge that piece of it. But let's not, I just wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater with this one. And I think Commissioner Scholl, I think you'd be, honest to God, Chair, I think that Commissioner Scholl would be fantastic bringing
Well,
those kinds of measures, and Commissioner
Don't speak for him.
Fisher.
He has his card up.
Well, I know. I don't want to speak for you, Commissioner Scholl. I'm just telling you what I think. What I think.
You mentioned the
yeah.
BIPOC. It has nothing to do with this group. I mean, I
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is we should bring that message to them and say, you've got to be more inclusive yourselves, guys.
Commissioner Scholl, you're up, and then Commissioner
Okay.
Fisher.
Yes, thank you. For the many people in Reimagine, Oregon who have legitimate, sincere concerns about people in our county, in our region, you know, Clackamas County works every day on many of those same issues they're concerned with. Mental health, housing, counseling, transportation, public safety. And we work with hundreds of other organizations that are also concerned with those same things without actually signing on or endorsing any of those organizations. So people of Reimagine Oregon have to understand that we are working every day in this county to help achieve some of the things they are concerned about. Secondly, I and the people in this room, there's nothing we can do about history. But when somebody says that we have systemic racism, my question is to them, systemic racism is a system where racism is a conscious focus. And my question is, when you say there's systemic racism, my question is, please show me the system that we have in this county in which racism is systemic. Because I want to know, because the people around this table will take action to fix it in a heartbeat, if we're aware of it. So,
And we have, by the way.
of course we have. And so, again, the statement that there's systemic racism has always got to come up with the next question. Okay, which system and exactly what is it? Show me where it is. And if you can't do that, then don't use the system, systemic racism in Clackamas County. Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yeah, thank you. This is a very good conversation. I'm really happy that we're having it. We did bring this to the board in November, as Commissioner Savas said, and it's been very important to me as I attend these meetings that the policy, is there a conversation that we need to have?
I have another one.
No, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was distracted by the side conversation. Thank you, Commissioner Schrader. Now I'm trying to get my thought. Oh, that we are all on board with the initiatives that Clackamas County is engaged in, which we have confirmed to make sure that Commissioner Scholl and I are speaking in one voice when we are, that our board is in one voice. It's very important that we are in one voice. In response to Chair Smith, you saying that Reimagine Oregon is all about defunding, maybe that's true. That's not been my experience. If you look at the purpose on their website, it's in education and healthcare and socioeconomic status and workforce and housing, all of that. And then they have an invest and divest. Every step of the way, this county has been a leader and our voice against sometimes very not so comfortable circumstances have been, we will not do this. We have stood strong and firm since the beginning. What I see as an opportunity, and I'm just sort of percolating this, as Commissioner Scholl talks about the numbers of the increase in crime. We've seen it. We like to say that's Portland. That doesn't affect us here, but does affect us here. So what's happening in Portland right now is they went through union negotiations. They're going to be paying their police much more now, which means we could be losing our officers in Clackamas County going to Portland because they're trying to repair what they did that was wrong. Maybe we take the lead, and if Washington County wants to join and Multnomah County wants to join, to say, hey, come on, Reimagine, we need to reframe this, and let's look at what appropriate investment, and not just police, but in public safety. What does that look like? And we need to come together as a region, because what happens in Washington County affects us in Clackamas County, affects us in Portland, and we have been a leader at this table since the beginning. We have an opportunity to continue in that leadership, if we so take it. But as I've said before, whatever we do, it needs to be consensus.
Commissioner Savas.
So, I know the words and terms can be misunderstood or leveraged or just thought of differently, and I don't want to get into semantics, but I will say that as someone who grew up with and around and has family of people of color, as we describe it today, there are challenges for them. They live in a different level of fear in circumstances that the majority does not. And in this region right now, everyone is concerned about their safety, everyone, no matter what color their skin is. But it's unique for people of color, okay? And it's different. And whatever terms, I'm not here to describe the terms, but it's different, and it's real. All that said, again, going back to, I didn't realize in November, I didn't realize until 2 weeks ago about this website.
Yeah, I
so
didn't
my
either.
question about the website, and I mentioned it earlier, what's on here that aligns or doesn't align, or maybe, Commissioner Fisher, you've been at every meeting, I think. Can you tell me which of those on the website, you said mentioned leadership, which of those websites do you or you feel the county endorses? Of what's on the website?
We're not endorsing
well, I mean,
anything.
Or believe in or support. We use it, whatever word you
So
want to
there
use.
is a part of the website that we have been updating frequently, and it's about the demands that are put on there for maternal child health, behavioral health, fair housing. We, as a jurisdiction, have been working on those initiatives, and we continue to update where we are in our progress, and we have been making progress in those areas.
On which ones? That are on the website?
Well, and Martine she put in our memo for us,
Right.
if you want to pull it up.
I'm just saying the website, because I
Those
was
are
mentioning, there's a disconnect between what's on the website today and what Martine's outlined. I'm not saying Martine's done anything wrong at all. You haven't. You're kind of, I think the memo kind of states our position on a few things, but what's on the website, is a website that outdated? You've been going to the meetings.
Yeah.
Is it that outdated to where some of those things aren't true today?
Let's ask Martine to answer that, because she's been in the weeds on all of this, working specifically.
They have a new executive director, Justice Raji, who is supposed to, one of his core functions is going to be to clean that up. I had a conversation with him about that, about updating the website, because I have the ability to update it on the back end, but then they have to post it. So I can reach out to him and request that again. I don't know where they are internally in that process, but I think they are clear that the website hasn't been updated with the updates that we have given.
Okay.
Yeah, their website is not, I'm just on it right now. It is so not updated with anything from Clackamas County.
I just want to say this one thing. I do have to leave here pretty soon. We're a little bit over time, and that is that the issue that I think is with the whole topic, just to say or consider, not act, but just to say you're going to defund the police, that's demoralizing to our law enforcement officers. Everyone in public safety is demoralizing. Granted, one bad apple should not be a negative reflection on the majority. It's stereotyping. That's not fair for anyone. It's not fair to stereotype any person, whether their job or their race or religion or anything else. People shouldn't be stereotyped. So I just want to put between all the changes that happen in Multnomah County and Portland, that has really caused a lot of this thing. It is not easy to unwind that. You can't put the genie back in the bottle that quickly, and it's created this wave. We don't want that wave here in this Clackamas County. We don't. We can't afford that. We got to stand behind all of our staff. We need to stand behind the good work that's being done. Someone gets out of step, or they violate the law, or they violate a code or a policy here, they need to be held accountable. We've done that, Gary, through your leadership, we've done that. We don't tolerate people that don't follow our procedures and protocols, but a majority of our staff, law enforcement included, are good people. We have to recognize that.
I'm having a lot of trouble in what Commissioner Fisher has brought forth, that somehow we need the approval or of a Portland organization to go ahead with our own work plan. We don't need a group to approve or define our government and our residents and how we conduct business. I would submit that maybe in some ways we're doing better than our jurisdiction to the north on many issues. That is my angst here. And the problem with this organization is the fact that they haven't bothered to update their website. Or folks, maybe they did, and this is an update. They won't listen to not only this organization, our neighboring organizations, and I do not want us to have any association. I do not, if you commissioners, you want to attend without your official title, and you think this is such a good idea, there is a problem. There is a perception in our own communities of defunding police. I think that we should divest ourselves of Reimagine Oregon. I think we're doing fine without having to adhere to another overarching group. They keep popping up, they keep forming us, they're trying to misrepresent what we're doing. Just take a look at what Metro's doing to us. Haven't you had enough of that yet? And yet we're somehow, with this document that Sonia brings forward from Martine, which you did a very good job, you did what you thought you had to do, that somehow that we're going to go in all for this and think we're going to change the mind of a group in Portland who has vilified our police, who I believe is at least partly responsible for the violence in Portland, since they have not made any disclaimer sentences, statements to the opposite of that, to go forward this. I don't think that we should be a part of this. I don't even really think this conversation is that helpful to us moving forward on any of the goals that are unique to Clackamas County. And this is where we need to focus. On this conversation, on our issues, and our policy measures as we go forward. With that in mind, I'm going to make a motion. And I move the Clackamas County divest all association with the group called Reimagine Oregon.
I'll second that.
Yep.
And I can repeat that if there's a question. I move that Clackamas County divest itself of all association with the group called Reimagine Oregon, and Commissioner Scholl has seconded that. Would you like a comment?
Yes. Ms. Koblenz has suggested that Reimagine Oregon has got a new executive director, and they're looking at redoing their website. Is that correct?
Do you know that for sure?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So the motion that the chair has made, I agree with. And at such time in the future when Reimagine Oregon has relooked at their organization, reassessed their values and their goals, when that happens, we can look at them and talk to them again.
I just want to clarify that updating the website piece with the executive director is what we update on the back end that they need to then display publicly. I wasn't suggesting that they're changing their values or anything like that. It's more of what we updated.
Yeah, okay, but I'm saying when they have a chance to reassess where they're at and how effective they're going to be in helping us achieve a strong society in our county, then I will agree with the chair's motion.
Yeah, so I just have a question. The word divest, we're not invested, right? So
It sounds like we are to me.
No,
how's that? How's that?
We're not,
So
Chair Smith.
I just make a friendly amendment just to not use the word divest because we're not
What would
invested.
you like to use, Paul?
I just, maybe it's just say that we, that Clackamas County not participate until such time that that perhaps whether it's the website or the agenda is more clear. I want to make sure that Commissioner Scholl and Fisher, if they have the freedom, they can attend. But, so if we want to reframe it a little bit to just say that we don't support or endorse, but, or wish to participate as a county until such time that it's updated, I'm okay with that motion. So if you would like to, I can make the motion if you want to retract yours.
Let me be clear before I retract my motion.
Okay.
On what you want to say. Can you restate it?
Basically say that we just not participate in, or that Clackamas County is not endorsing or supporting Reimagine Oregon, and we have, I'm going to mess this up, so I'm going to pull back.
Okay.
I got to rethink that.
Okay.
Unless you have a motion, Mark.
No, Paul, I think that the chair's motion is clear, concise, and I think it works.
It's just the word divest is the only word.
Well, the reason why I use divest is because they use that on police.
Yeah.
So I'm copying their language,
Yeah.
which some of you in the room might like hearing that.
Okay, maybe use the word withdraw. Let's use the word withdraw.
That's a compromise.
That's my friendly amendment, Chair.
Politics is about
Instead of the
compromise.
word divest, we say, I move Clackamas County withdraw all association with the group Reimagine Oregon. Is that okay?
Sure.
Commissioner?
Seconded.
The motion has been amended to include the word withdraw instead of divest. Commissioner Scholl has seconded that. Further comment?
So, Chair Smith, being in these rooms officially with one voice is very important, and we have an opportunity to be leaders in the region on this issue. We have been steadfast from the beginning. We can continue to state our values, and we can continue to be strong. If we can bring other jurisdictions along with us, that will show strength. We have an opportunity. We can either take our influence, and I think that's powerful. And so in that, I will be a no vote on this. But if this commission with 3 decide to move forward, then I will respect that and I will not participate. But on the record, that I think our voice is so important. I mean, even just the numbers that Commissioner Scholl said of the increase in homicides, the increase in crime, stating that.
So we are doing this, and maybe with this motion today, Commissioners, Clackamas County comes out as the leader in all jurisdictions that Reimagine Oregon claims that they are a membership of, and maybe with this motion today, Commissioner Fisher, we can be a leader in changing the conversation and calling out people and organizations who are still on tent and not working with organizations like, for instance, when Commissioner Savas asked for his name to be removed from the website, or County of Washington asked them to be removed. They refused to do that. So with this motion today and this vote today positions Clackamas County as a leadership for our morals and our philosophy, which we voted on these, and we still hold these to be true. And if that organization wants to remove from their website once and for all, divestiture of the police department, then we can come back and revisit this. And with that in mind, we have some commissioners that need to run. I'm going to call for the vote.
Yeah, one clarifying thing, I think you can still attend. My intent,
I
the intent of the motion.
I will not participate if I don't have the support of this entire board in the initiatives regarding maternal health, behavioral health, equity in housing.
Sonia, this is not about, this is not about the issues. This is not about the issues.
That's right.
Because the issues aren't even clear.
And in our position that we do not support divesting in law enforcement. All of those positions, if this board supports Commissioner Scholl and I carrying that message to Reimagine, I will attend. But without that, I will not attend on behalf of Clackamas County.
It needs to be clarified what the organization supports and doesn't support, and I think you
The
still have.
the motion is crystal clear.
Yeah.
The motion is crystal clear, and I'm not even sure if you're going to be in attendance on Friday, are you?
Please call for the motion.
I already called. I called for a vote. Shannon, call the poll now, please.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher.
No.
Commissioner Schrader.
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Scholl.
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 3-1-1.
if they can get this all back together, great. But I wouldn't say that this motion, Sonia, says we don't care about all those things. So if you want to spin it that way,
I'm not
please don't.
spinning anything.
Please don't.
I participate at the collaboration of this board. Always has been, always will be.
All right, the board processes, procedures, and protocols will reschedule. All that's remaining is Commissioner communication, if you want to stay to finish, or you can adjourn, up to you, Chair Smith.
I got a quick comment, Commissioner comments.
It's up to you guys if you want to stay for commissioner comments.
It'll just take 30 seconds.
Go ahead, Commissioner Shaw.
Yes, good morning. I just want to say that today's National Vietnam War Veterans Day, and I want to thank you for your service out there in Clackamas County who served in that war. Remember the Vietnam War Memorial going into Salem. They need your help in getting that built, and thank you again for your service.
And we supported that, correct, Commissioner Shaw?
Yes, we did.
And how much was that again, sir?
$5,000.
Yeehaw, right?
That'll help them down the road.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Are we adjourned?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, commissioners.